Hi, welcome to my channel. This is Crimes Across Borders and my name is Cora. You are watching the second part of my video about one of Poland's most haunting cases of disappearance, the disappearance of Iwona Wieczorek. It's an unsolved case that happened in 2010. If you haven't watched the first part, I highly suggest you pause this video and you go and watch the first part. I explain there everything that happened at the beginning and I touch on some major leads and theories, and this is the direct continuation of that video there. Now let's get into it. So I already mentioned a little bit about Paweł. This is the friend that was with Iwona the night she disappeared. He was extremely involved in the investigation from the very beginning. He was helping Iwona's mom a lot in those very first days before the police even took them seriously. Iwona's mom actually even thought that maybe he was in love with Iwona and that's why he was so keen on helping. This proved not to be the case, as just a few weeks after the disappearance of Iwona, he started a relationship with a woman named Joanna. Why I'm mentioning this, it's because they possibly knew each other at the time of Iwona's disappearance that night, and there was some mentions in the media that Joanna was in the same club or nearby that tragic night. So there was a phone number that police reportedly managed to track to the same location as Iwona, that was moving at the same time through kind of the same path as Iwona. So the police assumed there could have been someone following Iwona that night. And when they tracked that number, they struggled a lot and eventually they tracked it to a woman. And this woman at first denied multiple times that she ever had a phone number like this. Then she eventually did admit that she did have this phone number, but it wasn't her walking that path. And allegedly, this woman was Joanna. But I'm adding it here just to, because I find it kind of like interesting. This is not 100% confirmed. I searched so much. I even was started reading just like random articles that are not necessarily the first source of information, but everywhere I looked, like I could see both accounts. I could see versions where it was confirmed that yes, it was Joanna, and I could see another version saying there was some other woman called Anna. So there's this name thing as well. Perhaps that's where the confusion comes from, and that Anna was walking that path as the same path that Iwona took, but at different times. I decided to still mention it because right now, recently, just about a year or two ago, so after a long time, police arrested Paweł and Joanna under some very serious allegations, multiple different allegations. For Paweł, it was tax evasion with multiple businesses, drug allegations, and most importantly, allegations of obstructing the investigation into Iwona's disappearance. Although details remain unclear, it's been suggested that Paweł was withholding key information, he may have tampered with certain evidence, and he was deleting files of Iwona's computer. So it's unclear whether these is the exact allegations and where this case will lead us in the investigation. It's an ongoing case and it happened 2 years ago, but it's still an ongoing case. We don't have more details about this, but it definitely casts a doubt onto the role of Paweł in Iwona's story. So the last major lead that is quite often overlooked in the media is about Iwona and a police officer. So Iwona's mom testified to the police that she believes Iwona was dating a police officer. According to her, there was a young police officer. She didn't know his name. He would often park in front of their place, and Iwona would go down and meet him in his car. It seems like none of the other friends of Iwona were aware of this. No one else mentioned anyone else that Iwona was actually dating at the time. So it is quite intriguing that only the mom knew about it. And at the same time, even more intriguing for me is that the mom didn't know any other details that besides the fact that he's a police officer. They were very close, according to all the friends and family. They were almost like more like friends rather than mother and daughter. So you would think in that situation she would know perhaps a bit more details about this. But the only thing we know is that there was some mysterious police officer parking in front of their place, and Iwona would go and meet him. So this detail is particularly interesting to me because, as I mentioned before, the Regans Park, that place where Iwona was seen last, is closed off to any traffic except privileged vehicles like an ambulance or a police cars. And there was a police car, I think a van, patrolling the area that night around that time where Iwona would be there. And there's a really big chance that if Iwona took the path that her friends mentioned that she may have taken, that she would cross her paths with that police car, or at least that they could see her. It isn't clear if they found out who exactly was patrolling the area that night. I'm assuming yes, because it's even back then the cars probably had some type of a GPS. They were sure like a log. They're not just driving randomly around the town. So I'm sure the police was able to track which officers were in the van at that time. They had the exact time and location. So I'm sure they interviewed them. But this information was never made public. What was made public a while into the investigation, the public spokesperson for the police department, they said that over 2,000 police officers from that region, from the city, were signed a document saying that they did not have any information or anything to do with Iwona's Wieczorek case. So I found that quite intriguing, why they had to sign a document like this. And the only explanation to me is that the police was investigating their own officers at that time. And I'm not surprised given the concerning reports of police misconduct in the area. I mentioned before with the businessmen and the club owners that were arrested before. They were hiring police officers to be bouncers in the clubs, which normally is not allowed in Poland. If you're a police officer, you're not allowed to make extra money working like as a part-time bouncer, and they were still doing it. And there was also a lot of reports of girls coming to the police station to report a crime, and that wouldn't be even officially noted. They would just tell them to can't do anything about it, go away. So there's definitely something going on. If this involves Iwona in any case, I don't know, but I do find it quite intriguing. So aside from the major leads, the police reports also contained some smaller but intriguing details that didn't attract much media attention. For example, there was a woman who reported to the police that she could hear, she lived next to the park on the normal street where the cars can already go. She could hear in the middle of the night around the time Iwona disappeared, a woman screaming for help. When she looked out, she could see a young woman being dragged into a car and the car sped off. There were also reports of conflict of interest. Allegedly, a father or stepfather or uncle of the ex-boyfriend, Patrick, used to be police officer or someone connected to the law enforcement in Sopot. I couldn't find more details about it. I was really curious, but they don't actually give any surnames of the people, so it's quite hard to find out if it's just a silly gossip or if there is something more to it. I find it not surprising that people are speculating about this kind of connections, because there's so much already about some cover-ups and big conspiracy theories about the police. So I'm not surprised if that was just like a random thing someone said somewhere and then it just snowballed into an actual big thing. As I said, I couldn't really confirm it properly. While these smaller details might not seem directly linked, I think they contribute to a larger narrative of police incompetence and perhaps even corruption. Together, they suggest that there were many opportunities that could have brought investigators closer to solving Iwona's disappearance. And unfortunately, things didn't move until very recently when the case was actually transferred to higher authorities. The most recent development in the case came this year when the police released a photo of white Fiat Cinquecento taken by the security camera at 5 in the morning on the 17th of July 2010, the morning Iwona was last seen. The police are urging the public to come forward with any information about the car or its driver, as they believe it's directly connected to Iwona's disappearance. It's striking how all the significant breakthroughs in this case only happened years and years later, especially after the case have been moved to a higher jurisdiction. I keep thinking, where would it be if this case would be solved if the police actually worked on it straight away? Like this photo, for example, this is not a new photo. This was taken in 2010. What are the chances that someone's gonna remember something about it right now? It's been such a long time ago that even if they do find the owner, that car might be in the junkyard right now. It's not gonna give them any answer at this point. I mean, I hope not, perhaps it will, but the chances of it are for sure smaller than if that photo was released back in 2010. As with many high-profile unsolved disappearances, Iwona's case attracted a wide range of people. Some genuinely trying to help, others just trying to make a quick buck. One of the most notorious figures involved in the case was Detective Rutkowski. It's the self-proclaimed celebrity-style detective. I already mentioned him before in my video about the mysterious death of Magdalena Żuk, a young woman who died in Egypt during her holidays there. He was heavily involved in that case as well. To be fair, I think he's involved in any high-profile case in Poland in the last 15 years. Besides this detective, there was another detective agency that was involved as well. They were not even hired by the family, they were just doing some work pro bono. There was also a very famous psychic involved in the case as well. He worked with Iwona's mom for a while. None of those people actually managed to come with any significant breakthrough. And the psychic was quite convinced that Iwona's not alive anymore and that her body is hidden in a body of water, and that led the police to do few more searches of the park and specifically checking all the little streams, the lake, as well as the entrances. I don't know how this is called, the entrances where they can access like the water pipes and the for the water system. So they checked that as well, but that didn't lead to anywhere. Over the years, there was also a lot of books and documentaries about Iwona's case or based on Iwona's case. One of the most famous books were written by investigative journalist Janusz Szostak. He wrote 2 books about Iwona. I'm not sure if he finished the second one because unfortunately he passed away. At the beginning, he was closely working with Iwona's mom. He had access to a lot of resources that the parents couldn't access otherwise. He had access to the police reports as well. As I said before, he was closely working with Iwona's mom at first, but eventually that relationship soured. He started casting a critical eye on the behavior of Iwona's mom. So there were speculations about the relationship Iwona had with her mom, that perhaps it wasn't so friendly and so amazing as most people were saying. Iwona's mother faced significant public scrutiny. Critics pointed out that just weeks after Iwona's disappearance, the mom was busy doing a remodel of the bathroom. Her demeanor during the interviews as well was not what people were expecting. They were saying that she loved the attention, that she doesn't seem like a grieving mother. A lot of people also commented on the fact that she seemed to be more annoyed with the shoes than the fact that her daughter is missing. And the shoes. There was a lot of thing about the shoes. So we mentioned it already, that she was a little bit annoyed when she discovered that Iwona took her brand new pair of heels. They were very special for her. Obviously, that was before she knew her daughter is missing. So there's nothing wrong about this. But the point is, they were like special shoes. I think she even mentioned that they were like specially made for her. They weren't just normal shoes you could get in any chain store. And during the investigation, there was a photo circulating of the shoes. People, like if someone finds the shoes when they were doing the searches of the park, someone finds them so they know this is the shoes. But when public noticed that it looks like that photo was taken after Iwona's disappearance, the mother changed her story and she said that actually at the very beginning she already ordered 2 pairs of those shoes, which seems rather strange. If they were like specially made, why would order 2? So there was a lot of this unclear misinformation about the shoes, and a lot of people based their mistrust towards the mom just purely based on this information. The writer Szostak, he also became fixated on the shoes, and apparently on the night he died, they were sleeping in a bed with his wife, and he started having troubles breathing. And while the wife was calling for the ambulance, Mr. Szostak said something along the lines, "I know what happened, it's the shoes, and it's the shoes." And it's quite literally his last words, because he died before he could receive help. By the time the ambulance arrived, he was already dead. No one, even his wife, could figure out what he meant, what he realized, what did he mean about the shoes. But yeah, a lot of public, even after this, went even harder on Iwona's mom. And I feel so sorry for her, because I think I kind of understand all the scrutiny she's been getting. Like, I see why people think she might be guilty. If she was involved into Iwona's disappearance, one of the theories, for example, was that Iwona actually did make it home safely and something happened at home in the house. Perhaps she came back home drunk. The relationship with her mom wasn't that great. Maybe she was already planning, saving money to run away or something, and something happened. It would kind of explain that maybe kind of weird, the renovation of the bathroom soon after the disappearance. Usually people are too busy with investigation to actually, care for something like a bathroom remodeling. Also, the neighbors of Iwona's parents, they also reported that there was some disturbance during that night. I couldn't find more details about it, besides the fact that there was some disturbance that night. Again, I think I already mentioned, if not, I'll mention it now. There were security cameras in the neighborhood where Iwona's complex was, and those cameras were never actually secured. And I find it interesting because when the parents started looking for Iwona, the parents and the friends, they accessed a lot of cameras before even the police did. Like in the Dream Club, for example, Pavel was helping them with this. And you would think that the parents were aware that they have cameras in their neighborhood, and they would say like, right, we need to secure those as well as soon as possible before they get erased or something. Because at this point, they weren't 100% sure at which point on the path home Iwona disappeared. So they didn't know if it happened earlier on in Regent Park or if it was much closer. The stepdad of Iwona, did say that he heard that night someone shouting Iwona outside their window. So it does seem quite plausible that maybe she did make it home and something happened right outside of it. Perhaps someone was waiting at the car park in front of their house in the car, and she went in the car and they drove off with her. Or perhaps something happened at home. So yeah, my point is I do find it strange that they didn't think to secure those cameras. So I kind of understand why there's so much public scrutiny for Iwona's mother. What I don't understand is how people can actually go on her socials and blame her just because of some gossip. There's literally no evidence that she was involved in any way. All of this is speculation. Obviously, police, even if they think that, they didn't make any steps towards, at least public steps toward this. What we know is that they did arrest Pavel, they did arrest those businessmen. So they are doing some things, and it doesn't seem like they are actually suspecting the family of Iwona. So I find it so disrespectful and mean that people are like this. But welcome to the world of internet. I do find it really fascinating and frustrating at the same time that it's been 14 years and this case, it's still an ongoing investigation, and that all the major breakthrough and major leads are actually happening right now. It seems like a lot of those things could have been done at the very, very early stages of the investigation. What do you guys think about all the theories? Is there something that particularly catches your eyes? I would love to read your comments about this case. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into true crime stories. And remember, behind every mystery, there is a life worth remembering. Take care.